Let's begin this tale of two horses with Fouaad Mirza, as everything hinges on him, then his horse. So Fouaad is an Indian equestrian who won silver medals in both the individual eventing and the team eventing at the 2018 Asian Games. He became the first Indian since 1982 to win a medal at an individual event in the sport at the Asian Games. Here's a look at some stats. 29-year-old Fouaad was born in Bangalore. He took to horses early as his father was a veterinarian. In 2019, Mirza received the Arjuna Award. In October of that year, he won gold at an event held in Poland. On 7 January 2020, Mirza qualified for the Tokyo Olympics after finishing first in Southeast Asia Oceania Group.
I'm very pleased to have a berth for Tokyo, and the race is not over yet. It's just the beginning. We're still a long way away from Tokyo, and I need to keep focusing on my training and focusing on the health and well-being of the horses, and I'm sure we will really enjoy and I'm sure you will also really enjoy our performances in Tokyo in 2021.
He became the first Indian equestrian in the last 20 years to qualify for the Olympics. Securing an individual Olympic quota in eventing for the upcoming Tokyo Games makes him the first Indian in 20 years to do so. Indrajit Lamba at the 1996 Atlanta Olympics and Imtiaz Anis at the 2000 Sydney Olympics were the others. No person has ever achieved anything by himself, and one of the biggest supporters of Fouaad Mirza through the equestrian journey has been his father, Dr. Mirza. He's a former rider himself and one of the most renowned equestrian veterinarians in the country. Dr. Hasnain Mirza is obviously very proud of his son. He told the media,
"It's a really huge achievement for a rider from India to qualify and get to compete in the biggest show on earth. The Indian team winning medals in eventing at the Asian Games in Jakarta itself has given a big impetus to the sport. Whatever he does at the Olympics will inspire others to strive to represent India at future Olympic Games."
Dr. Mirza is a sixth-generation horseman. His father was an army officer in the 61st Cavalry and commanded the president's bodyguard.
"I was fairly certain that both boys would follow a career connected with horses. Ali Asker decided to become a vet, and when he had to make a choice on whether to be a small animal practitioner or an equine practitioner, I wasn't at all surprised that he chose the latter. As for Fouaad, it was almost a given because for a while he toyed with the idea of becoming a professional jockey before realizing that the equestrian side of the sport was his calling in life."
Let's talk about Fouaad's horses. Senor Medicott is built like a marathoner, can battle it out in tough cross-country courses, and is a frequent flyer, unfazed by the change in surroundings. Dajara 4 is shaped like a powerlifter, can help pocket double the points with her graceful jumps, but an anxious traveller. Like other Olympics-bound Indian teams, Fouaad Mirza has to finalize which one of his two horses will accompany him. Medicott, the experienced gelding of the young mare Dajara. Both are healthy and fit, Mirza says. On paper, it's very hard to choose between them. But choose he must. Unlike other competitions, the 29-year-old will be able to take just one horse to the Olympics. However, much like in any other sport, picking the right teammate would be critical. And as Mirza explains, when it comes to selecting horses, it is as much about analyzing their mood as it is about form. The experience of travelling around helps, he says. Medicott, nicknamed Mickey, has travelled so much that taking a flight, the mode of transport to Tokyo, does not bother him much.
Mentally, he would be a bit more settled, but for Dajara, everything is new. That's the case usually with mares. If something had to change, it puts them off a bit. So wherever we are, our routine with them has to be as close as possible to home.
Home for Mirza and the horses was Bergdorf, Germany. Mirza conducted a selection trial of sorts, putting them through different tests. Medicott, he says, is what they call in equestrian terms a blood horse.
It means he is like a racehorse. Mickey is built like a marathon runner. He has a lighter body type. Dajara, on the other hand, is built more like a powerlifter, heavier and stronger.
Dajara's frame, though, puts her at a disadvantage. Her size and the muscle mass she carries can make her lethargic in a warm and humid climate, which is how Tokyo is expected to be during the Olympics. Medicott has already proven himself in such conditions. Astride the now 15-year-old, Mirza broke India's 36-year-old medal drought at the Asian Games by winning a silver medal at Jakarta in 2018. It has been the highest point of Mirza and Medicott's long relationship. But then Medicott got injured, and in his absence, Mirza teamed up with other horses, one of them being Dajara. Dajara is 5 years younger than Medicott. She lacks the experience and temperament of competing in big events. But her one quality could be critical in Tokyo: jumping. At the Olympics, the rider-horse team will compete in 3 rounds: dressage, eventing, which also includes the jumping phase, and jumping.
That is Dajara's forte, so it's definitely good for her.
Both are roughly at the same level in dressage, while Medicott pips Dajara in the cross-country.
Mickey holds a bit more experience as he has been around the block, has done some difficult competitions, and knows his job. Dajara is just starting to do difficult courses, but in Poland, both of them did really well on a course and in conditions that were really tough.
Poland was the last chance saloon for Mirza, who has spent several sleepless nights trying to meet his mare. Almost the entire 2020 season got wiped off because of the pandemic. After the COVID-19 situation got under control and equestrian shows began across Europe earlier this year, a herpes virus amongst horses cut short the season. Quarantine rules for Mirza as well as his horses made it tougher for him to compete in a lot of events, leaving him with just 2 opportunities to secure the qualification.
There was one show in Britain, but due to Brexit, the logistics of travelling there with horses was very tricky. So Poland was my last chance. If I had missed this, the Olympics would have gone as well.
Mirza says the pressure, which often brings the best out of him, has jolted him into action so close to the Olympics. Not only him, the horses too.
They both put up a convincing performance and showed we are on track to peak at the Olympics.
All 3 of them will be vaccinated. Mirza got his first COVID-19 jab, while the horses got inoculated for the herpes virus. But just one horse will travel with Mirza, and he says they will be feeling the pressure too.
The horses will be able to feel the pressure, they can feel the urgency with your grip, and then rise to the occasion along with you. Hence, the partnership between the horse and the rider is everything.
Despite the difficulties involved in making a choice, that had to be done. And it was done. The reasons were given to the media in Fouad's own words.
The horse I have selected to represent India in Tokyo would be Dajara 4. And we are preparing well, and we are keen to give a good performance out there in Tokyo. We are on the route of creating history, and she's a horse that is going to help us get there. And I'm looking forward to participating in the games with her. She's a very nice and pretty horse, and I'm sure she will bring the sport enough attention and hopefully encourage the younger generation to take up the sport. Look, it was a very, very difficult decision, I must say. Both horses are very good horses, and I'm very lucky to have them both. So at the Olympics, we have 2 rounds of show jumping after cross country. This is probably Mickey's weaker link, and so that was basically the main reason why we decided to take Dajara over Medicott. It was very difficult to choose, but Dajara is definitely now the right horse, so we want to go out there and give a very good performance. Dajara competed in the Nations Cup in Poland, where she finished second. Both horses would go into quarantine on the 11th of July. That is at a different location, that is at Aachen in Germany. But over there, we are allowed to use all the facilities as you would at home, so there are no restrictions on training times or where and how you can train.
Equestrian is not just about riding a horse. It's all about communication and stable management. Fouaad Mirza says that once the art of communication is mastered, half the work is done. There has to be expert communication between the rider and his horse, and that's what matters.
The communication takes years to develop. It is not something that one can learn by riding a horse for a few days or weeks or months. The communication came to me naturally. It is difficult for me to put a finger on something and say, that was it. I have spent enough time around horses to understand their moves and their needs. One has to develop an aptitude towards having that effective communication. I'm fortunate enough to have aced it. We speak an unspoken language. A lot goes into understanding them, their moves, their body language, and all of that. There is a natural feel to it. You must keep the horse's caliber in mind. According to me, the horse is the champion. He must feel well, he must feel healthy, he must feel happy, and then the performance will be there to see.
The Bengaluru-born rider is currently training under Sandra Offath ahead of the Games.
Sandra is extremely influential. She is a former Olympic medalist and a world medalist too. She is extremely down-to-earth, helpful, and has exceptional talent. It is a great opportunity to train under her.
He concludes by hoping to have a memorable Tokyo Olympics 2021.